Hi, you guys. Welcome back. This is Richard Sachs. And in case you're new to this program, this is the curated version of Lost Arts Radio Live, for which we're very grateful to YouTube to straighten us out and teach us how to be, keeping our thoughts in line with acceptable ways of thinking that could never be offensive to anybody. And that's the ultimate way to world peace, is to eliminate all dissent and variation in thought. So we really appreciate them for the re-education. We're hanging around here for the sake of the people that are on this platform for us and might be confused if we just disappear suddenly, although that's obviously could still happen. But the challenge while we are still here is to translate the real Lost Arts Radio Live show into the SafeStream version language. And that is quite challenging because most of what I would probably say before I was successfully re-educated, I can't say anymore. And we're calling the version of this show in deference to the holiday they're having in America. That's this country on the other side of the world, if you're in the Orient somewhere, and or in the Middle East, or in Africa or Australia. And they're having this holiday that we can't really talk about because, well, we'll try to explain why we can't talk about it. So instead of saying happy, this forbidden word, day, we'll say happy hot dog day. And you would think, well, hot dogs are good, right? And there's nothing that could be offensive about that. But I realized after I set that title that I was wrong, that on second thought, it really is too offensive. And there could be vegans listening, and I apologize. I really didn't mean to say anything offensive against veganism. A lot of nice people are vegans, and some people that don't understand all the benefits still aren't, and they can learn. Also, it could be offensive not just to vegans, but what about the people who don't have access to hot dogs and want it, and they don't have access because of systemic racism? I mean, that could be a real serious problem. So we don't want anybody offended for that. And you have to realize that in the spirit of inclusiveness, the program is not only for vegans. There are some non-vegans believe in eating hamburgers and not hot dogs. And so they also could be offended by not mentioning hamburgers and only mentioning hot dogs. So, well, I mean, there's just so much depth to this that you don't appreciate until you get re-educated. And, hot dogs can easily remind people of toxic masculinity, which is a big problem in society right now that everybody, the good people, are trying to work on. But the fact that I mentioned that hopefully will not make anybody panic. You can keep crayons and Play-Doh close by so that if you start getting stressed or triggered, just start kneading the Play-Doh, and it works really well. And choose non-offensive colors out of your crayon box, and that works well too. So what can we safely call the day? I mean, if you don't mind my mentioning it, there are people in that country, America, who haven't learned how bad their country is yet, and about systemic racism and all that. And not to mention white males, which are really, I mean, like, forget it. If you have white males, the world's pretty much done for. So, and I can say that knowingly because I used to be one of them before I stopped identifying as one. So obviously the word independence, now don't get upset at my saying that, stay calm. It could be offensive to a lot of audiences. And we know it's an extreme right-wing extremist term implying, stay calm. I'm going to say it because I have to refer to it, because we know we're getting rid of it very soon. Gun violence. Independence implies gun violence. And it's usually a sign of climate change denial as well. So, if you look at those things calmly, we can find solutions. And almost always associated with the climate change denial is xenophobia and toxic nationalism, not to mention the tendency toward disinformation. And so just be aware of all that stuff. And I don't want you to think about it to the point of becoming too triggered. So to comfort everybody hearing those words and keep you safe from unauthorized thought, we would like to present a more balanced and inclusive and equitable proposal from now on for that holiday in America, if it still exists in a year, and it might. You have to be prepared for that. It might still exist. And in the meantime, in case it does, or even for the advanced people who want to do it this year, because see, that holiday, they have it on the fourth day in July, commemorating some racist white males 245 years ago. And so we're suggesting that they call it Dependence Day, because that's much more inclusive. And I think most city councils and most county boards of supervisors and school boards and state legislators and Congress people would probably support this change with great enthusiasm, because dependence implies advanced woke state of consciousness where you really understand the deeper problems of what's wrong with society. And it would set the tone for a great rebirth of humanity, and it would end the terrible stress that the well-meaning and malevolent tyrants are going through when we don't give them total blind trust. Nobody thinks how stressful this is on the tyrants and the dictators. So in the new spirit of Dependence Day, we could relax into a state of 24-hour surveillance and corporate home assistants that are helping you while they keep track of everything that you think and say, at least what you express in words for now. And the idea of a much more comforting, centralized digital currency that can't be misused for misinformation. And everything rented and delivered by drone, we've been alerted to that redemption coming from the real heroes of the planet, like Klaus Schwab and Bill Gates and people like that, and as well as total weather control to eradicate the terrifying climate change. Finally, we know that buildings collapse now because of climate change, and that's the reason that people become, I don't want to say any real triggering words, but like conservatives or Republicans, terrifying things like that. It's mostly climate change that does it. And we can relax into a state in the spirit of Dependence Day of equal access to all to weekly vaccines, including the new superhero vaccines that were just announced. And it's really exciting. And they will be eliminating death and suffering in everybody who's wise enough to accept them. Drinking water with the perfect mix that is figured out by computer of therapeutic drugs, and everyone in the perfect career from home, of course, for safety. And watching personally chosen videos for each one of us so we don't have to choose our movies anymore or anything like that. That was really stressful too, right? And all those nasty decisions will be eliminated. Everyone understanding in a spirit of real compassion, wearing a mask 24 hours a day, especially during exercise, because as anybody knows, except the disinformation people, when you exercise, you breathe out more CO2. And so even if you're not contagious for any disease, you're destroying the world with CO2. And if you have a mask, you can rebreathe it and take some of that in on yourself so you're not destroying the planet as fast. And a new free mask will no doubt be supplied to everyone once a month for hygiene, so you'll never have any problem with the old mask falling apart. And there's going to be so many benefits. I think we can look forward to free end-of-life care provided to everybody on their 60th birthday at the latest. And the savings in medical cost would probably allow, what did Bill Gates say, if you skip that $1 billion foolish wasted end of life care, you could hire 10 I think he said contact tracers. I could be wrong, but that would be a tremendous boon to society. If everybody is traced more thoroughly, then we'd all be safer and more secure. And of course, you get special privileges and rewards for each year early that you choose the end of life service, and probably a last wish and some really cool things that would go through this. So it's really obvious that Dependence Day worldwide, if it's accepted soon, would solve a lot of problems. And if you sign this pre-written certificate of thanks on your smart device to send to the rulers, I mean your representatives, and download the curated Dependence Day music on your smart device for a super joyful and totally non-offensive holiday, then you can celebrate Dependence Day with what would be the most advanced, a smokeless, meatless, heatless, virtual barbecue party, of course, for no more than 3 family members that have lived with you for at least 5 years in your household and have taken the permanent mask pledge to never remove the mask, even when they're eating. And that takes special training, by the way. Don't worry about how to do it. You just need to take the class. And live it up with a synthetic tofu burger, or possibly, if you are not thinking about toxic masculinity, you might be able to have a synthetic tofu hot dog, but no real tofu, so that any actual soybeans would not be harmed in the process, which would add to global warming, by the way. And this Dependence Day, if you follow these suggestions, you can be a true hero and report any member of your family or neighbors who aren't being heroes, so they can get special help in special facilities. And you can count on extra social credits being added to your account after you confirm that you've turned them in and make a full report. And by doing that, you're making it a better world. You're being a superhero. Yeah, don't get too anxious. The superhero shots will be here soon. And remember that we're all in this together. And that's the main thing to remember. Watch yourself for unauthorized thought, and you really should report anything like that if it keeps recurring, because it is curable now. The science is advancing fast. For any of you that are still not advanced enough to comprehend the content of this show, what they call the real show, the Lost Arts Radio live show, that'll be starting in 16 minutes now. But I would avoid, watching it if you possibly can. If you're advanced enough in consciousness, you won't need to trigger yourself with all the information that's going to be in that. And then the PhD meeting is after that at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern U.S. time. But remember that the heroes that are making the synthetic tofu burgers need your support. And that will save so many soybeans. It will just help regreen the earth. And you know that you'll be a major part of it. So I really appreciate that this audience is so advanced. They can appreciate the content of a show like this. Thank you. I hope you have a great holiday for Dependence Day, the first Dependence Day in American history, as an example to the rest of the world. If you're listening from another country, you can start a Dependence Day group in your own country and start the movement toward world peace and elimination of all unauthorized thought. And for those of you that aren't advanced enough to appreciate all that, I'll see you in 15 minutes at the old-fashioned, uncurated Lost Arts Radio live show. So I'm going to be getting ready for that for the next 15 minutes, and I'll meet you there. And hopefully you'll graduate to the curated show as soon as you're capable of understanding it. And I'll see you shortly. Have a good holiday. Remember, Dependence Day worldwide.